Welcome everybody. Our founding entrepreneur in residence, Axel Tillman, former US CEO of Fund of Funds in Sandal Road, and me, we are the host. And late of the first part, the training part, and then the main part, our colleague Deborah Magid, who's our CVC in residence, who was in IBM Ventures for over 20 years. She'd be here and host some of the most amazing panels, corporate venture, VC, keynotes. So there's a great lot of learning and networking ahead. So right now, from now to 2 o'clock, we are going to do brief intros for everyone in the room, because we want to create the culture where people know each other and we can build on it. So I will just introduce the first person, because he's too modest and I don't trust him to introduce himself. And then Axel will ask everyone, if you're a startup, give a 1 minute, up to 1 minute pitch. If you are not, you can briefly say who you are. So this company, this event is sponsored by SBDC, and we are long-term affiliates. And in the last 3 years, we have built the local corporate venture capital network based on their funding. And today we are going to start with a training on how to get grants. Why is grants, government grants, apart from being a source of free money, why is it important to AI? Because we feel in AI is something so new that there may not be much government grants out there. But there are two types of grants. One is SBIR and one is the National Science Foundation. In National Science Foundation, you create the problem and you solve it. So much breaking change is happening in this area that governments may not be equipped to create grants. But if you create a grant which is unique, you can create your own solution and you can get awarded. And the person who will lead this training is the top grant advisor of State of California. And we have companies here who has got grants through his mentoring. And this is the person who's doing this for 25 years or more. So my pleasure to start this with Chuck Eason. So privileged to have you here.
Yeah, so I'm Chuck Eason. I am actually with the NorCal Small Business Development Center. It's called Tech Futures Group. We're funded through the Small Business Administration and also through the Governor's Office. But I've been assisting clients with SBR funding for 28 years now, since 1995.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, my name is Eric Eklund. I'm with a company called Telemetrack, and we are one of Chuck's clients. We've managed to get half a dozen SBIRs and one STTR. Telemetrack has a kinetic energy-powered tracking device which allows us to track things that don't have any electric power, like containers, and then the Defense Department has a lot of other stuff that needs tracking but doesn't have electric power. I'll explain more later when I get more time. Yeah.
All right.
Hello, my name is Zara Hemeshan. I am the CSO and co-founder of Marubeni. We are the world's first generative AI for antibody drug design company. I am also one of Chuck companies. We secured NSF SBIR funding, and we'll chat more later on and during the panel.
Here. No, after you.
Okay. I'm Preeta Ram. I am a VC, but at one time I did have a startup, and we did raise funding from SBIRs from a couple of different agencies. So yes, I understand it's a powerful tool. As a VC, we are an early stage VC, seed to maybe Series B, and we invest in health tech, digital health, and things like that. And of course, we're all, just like everybody else, looking for AI. And is it a coincidence I'm sitting right next to Sarah here?
Okay, thank you. So now we are about improvising, and now we have someone who I can stop any program to give this person the acknowledgement, who has come in all the way from Chicago, just flew into our event. He not only heads the CVC arm of Allstate, he also influences their 30 billion private equity arm, and one of the most globally recognized corporate venture capitals in the world. So Tariq, I'm so grateful you're here. Let's give all round of applause.
Nice to be here, Tarek Alyashich. Good to see few familiar faces here. Looking forward to this event. As I mentioned, I run also the Strategic Ventures team as a part of Allstate's broader investment portfolio, looking to invest in stages A through C startups, anything from deep tech, frontier tech, to mobility, insurtech, fintech, and alternative distribution. Look forward to meeting you all and being part of this event.
And to me, it sounds that you came from the same country as I did. Right?
Bosnia.
Oh, you're from Bosnia? Oh, no, Germany. Okay.
No, we met in LA, remember?
We met
We went
yeah,
to his
yeah,
events.
yeah.
Thank you.
It's a different country too.
Different. Nice.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Naresh Sehgal. I represent here Deeply Human. I'm CTO in that company. We have a unique chip for doing AI machine learning on the edge of the network. As you know, that going to cloud always introduces latency. So we are doing storage as well as running AI algorithm on the edge of the network. And basically my background is I have written 5 books on cloud computing and AI. I worked at Intel for 32 years and then at a medical startup for 3 years.
Thank you. All right.
Hi, my name is Jake Kaldenbaugh. I've been in the Silicon Valley for a little over 20 years now, specializing in enterprise infrastructure. By way of background, spent some time at CA Technologies running their Corp Dev group, where I was happy to help build up their DevOps platform and competed against HP and IBM in doing that. I think we did that pretty successfully. Most recently helped Accenture Ventures revamp their CVC platform. They're now an early stage strategy focused on identifying and investing into innovative startups that really help drive their global industry practices. And so that was a lot of fun, really interesting time to do it over the last 3 to 4 years. And now I have an independent practice where I provide virtual strategic business development to startups as well as to venture platforms to help them improve their performance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Ian McKendrick. I'm the founder and CEO of Faction, and at Faction we do driverless light electric vehicles. I like to differentiate between driverless and autonomous because we focus on doing supervised autonomy, essentially where we try to use AI for very deterministic things, kind of stay in the lane, don't hit things. But we have remote human operators known as teleoperators that can assist the vehicles when necessary. And this is how you get to market now versus waiting for 100% general AI. But at the same time, every time a human assists a vehicle, that's training data. And so getting to fleet effect where you're actually feeding this back into the system allows us to move quicker. We also use light electric vehicles. They're categorized as auto cycles. This was a little bit of a startup hack because it got us to market quicker than working with legacy automotive. But it also means that we're right-sizing the vehicles to the mission. And the comment was made earlier about climate. I always make the joke that bringing any of us a pizza in a 4,000-pound electric car with 300 miles of battery range is a little bit of overkill. So we like being able to right-size the vehicles too. And autonomy is a great application for doing that. We focus mainly on logistics and then also vehicle on demand, where you can bring a vehicle to somebody and they drive it themselves. And we're getting ready to scale with some national partners next year. So it's kind of always happy to talk mobility if anyone wants to chat.
Hey everybody, Andy Tsao. I'm a managing director with Silicon Valley Bank. Yes, Silicon Valley Bank. We are back operating really well independently within First Citizens Bank. I run a business within Silicon Valley Bank we call Global Gateway. It's our center for cross-border activity with tech hubs around the world.
Good afternoon, I'm Joel Rosenberg. I've been working in the semiconductor industry for about 40 years, mainly in semiconductor technology and also technology licensing, the IP space. I currently am an angel investor, advisor to a number of startups in the AI, semiconductor, and medical devices space.
Hello everybody, my name is Elias Chavarria. I am with CVC Ventures as part of the investment team. We are early stage investors focused on deep tech, looking from C to Series A, B. On a personal side, I'm originally from Panama. I moved my career from consulting to a PhD in electrical and computer engineering. Went to the industry doing from R&D, innovation, engineering, product management, and then joined CVC Ventures. looking forward to talking to all of you.
Hello, my name is Vasily. I'm the founder and CEO of the company called Profecta. We develop artificial intelligence to optimize fleet operations. So we reduce costs, reduce fuel emissions and CO2 emission of large truck fleets using artificial intelligence solely by changing drivers' behavior without any capital investments. In our recent study, we demonstrated to a major oil and gas company that with our technology they can save almost 50% of fuel costs and reduce CO2 emission almost by a third, again solely by changing drivers' behavior. We were recently admitted to Alchemist Accelerator and we are developing.
Hello everyone. No matter where I stand, I'll show my back to somebody, so I'll come here. Hello everyone, my name is Harish Godi. I'm the founder of a company called Pinkisu. We want to be in between a brand and a user and fostering all sorts of communications, free-flowing conversations. One of the first instances of our technology is being used by the wine industry, where you can literally talk to a wine bottle and ask for pairing suggestions, what's the price, where can I buy it, any information, free-flowing conversation. I'm here with my business partner, Tom, here. Thank you.
Talk to your wine bottle. My name is Deborah Magid. Good morning, good afternoon. Here in Palo Alto, 20 plus years experience in corporate venture. Led the investment teams at Texas Instruments, LG, Hyundai. I also have been an operator, spent a number of years running an enterprise AI company, even before AI was cool. So we sold the last company to FICO, Fair Isaac. So if you're getting your FICO scores, then that's probably some of the stuff that we did a while ago. I have a new project in the corporate venture space called Free Rent Capital. So still in the stealth mode, but looking at the secondary and the primary investments in with corporates. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jia Yuanfang, founder and CEO of Efficient Academy. We develop AI-powered computer systems for K-12 in math and English. In the past years, we're mainly targeting for consumer market, and it's proven that the AI-powered system can substantially, dramatically actually improve the learning efficiency and the quality. And right now, we are looking for a new round of funds to expand into the school market. And we found the school has faced a severe challenge on the learning gaps, together with the teacher shortages. So if we use the computerized individual learning, we can address through individual learning to fill the student learning gaps individually and fill the learning gaps. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Christopher Haig. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Ephemeral Medical. Ephemeral is making a bioresorbable scaffold, also known as a temporary stent for the peripheral arteries. These are the arteries outside your heart. Most people think of stents for the heart. That's true. You have the same process of aging and atherosclerosis buildup in your legs that you do in your heart. So our device is implanted. It's very strong. It elutes a drug which prevents the scarring of tissue formation inside the vessel after it's implanted. So you have a long, durable result. You don't need a follow-up procedure. And after about a year to two, it's fully absorbed by the vessel, and so there's no permanent implant.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Lindstrom. I'm actually the head of the business development and investor relations for Rejuvenation Technologies. We are a preclinical biotech stage company, and we are developing therapeutics to treat age-related diseases and extend human health span. So our first two indications is pulmonary fibrosis and liver cirrhosis, and we are making a lot of good traction. We plan to go to our first in-human trials next year in 2024. So if you're looking to invest in a longevity company, come see me. Thanks.
All right, I'm Jonas Jacoby. I'm a CEO and co-founder of a company called Valid Mind. We are an AI risk and management solution for banking. So we help banks test, document, and validate all their AI solutions.
Hi everyone, my name is Zafer Sahinoglu. I'm the head of the Innovation Center for Mitsubishi Electric outside Japan. We invest in early stage opportunities in digital transformation from our innovation fund, and I also personally invest in B2B opportunities at seed stage.
Hello everyone, my name is Christos Karafezis. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Gaspar AI. We are an AI chatbot that helps companies auto-resolve internal support requests. Our latest data shows that we can auto-resolve about 50% of internal employee support requests. So whenever an employee works at the company, instead of trying to find the IT department, HR department, facilities department, can just talk to our bot that they can add on Slack, Microsoft Teams, or the self-service portal, and they can get what they've done within a few seconds and without human involvement. The ROI is very big because a request, when it's done by human to human today, is about $26 per request, but when it's done by a bot, it's about $1 per request. Plus, the bot is accessible 24/7. So.
Hello, my name is Akio Kurata from EquityX. Okay, EquityX is a stock trading data analytics service and advertisement. So, it's like democratize the fundamental analysis data, and because these days during the pandemic, there's so many people started to trade. That's why GameStop and meme stocks and share price and up and down very quickly. Therefore, people are struggling to find solution and or to decide to buy or sell shares. And that's what we calculate automatically by software, and then just to put everything in the stock price charts, and so that people can easily understand that. At the same time, people can click on the products, and individuals, for example Nike shoes, and people that check the Nike shares, and then this new Nike shoes is very cool, so I can click on that, and then we can generate such a revenue out of it, advertisement revenue. In this case, both data subscription and what's the advertisement revenue, that would be great. So that's what we are raising a fund now. So let's speak.
All right, I'll just face it back towards you. Hey everyone, I'm Sid Mohan. I'm the founder and CEO of Datafog. Datafog is a enterprise privacy filter that is meant to allow companies to redact sensitive information before it enters an AI environment. So at its core, Datafog is essentially a data preprocessor. It's meant to sit in between your data warehouses, your data lakes, all the repositories of data within your organization, and it, based on your company's specific criteria, you're able to filter out information and have it stored in a de-identified data lake that can then go onto your AI environment. So I've been exploring some use cases with this around preventing accidental exposure of sensitive information. For example, legal documents, which might be of interest to people in this building, being accidentally showing up in system logs, for example. And so currently that's a big blind spot that exists, and it comes with the advent of generative AI. So.
Hi, my name is Deborah Magid, and I'm from IBM Ventures. We have raised about 1.2 billion and have 600,000 people in our network. So we help companies through our network. I'm co-head of the AI fund, and we're looking for lots of opportunity to invest in.
Hey guys, this is Sushil. I'm part of Singtel Ventures. We are the corporate venture arm for Singtel, a leading telco based in Singapore. We invest in seed through Series B companies, primarily in the enterprise B2B infrastructure space.
I'm Wilson Lin. Actually worked with Sushil, so it's great that he got to do this intro before I did. But yeah, we're a $350 million evergreen fund, multi-stage investors. On the AI front, very interested in some of the categories mentioned here today, particularly on the data infrastructure, the security that's going to be required, AI governance, AI observability, ethics. So those are also key categories for us. Thanks for having us here.
I'm June Riley, founder and CEO of VC Task Force. We produce programs that support the venture community by addressing issues of the day. We have an AI series coming up for investors, and the first program is how AI is transforming the world of investing. Hi.
Good to see you. All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jay Anda. I'm a Director of Investments at Marubeni Ventures. We are also a corporate, a Japanese corporate, and we look to invest in pretty a broad range of opportunities, starting from Series A and upwards. And lately, I've been studying about the impact of AI, and we'll talk a little bit about that later this afternoon. So nice to meet you, everybody.
Hello, my name is Sebastian Herring, founder of Bonsai Soft. We specialize in software for law enforcement, and we're one of the clients for Chuck, who's been helping us to apply for the first SBIR program. So that's the first person. Thanks, Chuck, for your help.
Hi everyone, Lance Matthews with DTCP, Deutsche Telekom Capital Partners. We're a $2.5 billion assets under management. We invest similarly to Singtel Ventures in terms of enterprise-focused companies and B2B and cloud infrastructure companies. We invest slightly later though, typically sort of Series B through Series D. We have a unique setup in the sense that Deutsche Telekom is one of our LPs, our largest, but we have several. So we have some on the strategic side and others on the traditional or institutional pension fund, high net worth family office and what have you. But partner here based in Menlo Park, but we have offices in Germany as well and Israel as well from a geographic coverage perspective. But interested for the conversations later today.
Hi, I'm Vinod Bharadwaj. I'm a founder, one of the founders of a medical device startup company. We are essentially developing the next generation of radiation therapy systems, and we'd like to be able to say that we can actually use these to cure cancer, except the FDA will chase us down and beat us up. We've received now about $12.5 million worth of SBIR. So I think that it's safe to say that our technology is pretty solid. We've raised about $8 million in seed funding, and we're looking to raise Series A. And unfortunately, the biggest problem we have is that if you go and say high-cap medical device to a VC, they run away. And so if we can solve that problem, then I think we'll be just fine. Thank you.
So I'm Igor Ivanov. I'm a founder of AXBio. We develop a DNA sequencer, and we have secondary platform. We 200 people companies start to move product to the market. We have a foundry and looking for Series C pre-IPO round.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Josh Cyphers. I'm the head of finance for Hemex Health. I'd like to introduce you to Patty White, our CEO.
Okay, so passing the ball to me. I'm Patty White. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hemex Health. And Hemex develops advanced technology diagnostics that can be used in very remote places. And so for us, we've used AI for a long time to be able to take complex information and be able to turn that into something that an entry-level healthcare worker can use in these places like in India, Africa, the Middle East, and even in the US where we might be testing remotely. So we actually started with a test for sickle cell disease. So we've been on the market for the last 2 years. We've sold over 550,000 tests in 30 countries. And we're really looking with our Series B to be able to ramp to the next level and add more tests and more geographies.
Hi, I'm Shanna Hendricks. I'm with NEA, which is a global venture capital firm. I lead strategic partnerships, which means I help our portfolio companies find customers on the corporate and CVC side. I also help maintain relationships between our firm and our investors and outside everybody else. So happy to be here. Nice to meet you all.
Hi, I'm Tom Perry. I'm a co-founder of Think Is Who, and like Harish said, we're focusing on the wine industry right now, but we believe that AI can be used in a number of vertical industries, especially those that don't have many software developers, for augmenting human effort. And I've spent now over 25 years in the Bay Area, first as an investment banker working with software companies. And I started an analytics company and have done a lot of corporate development and alliance work with kind of Series A to Series C companies, particularly around data and understanding how enterprises interact with their customers.
Thank you. I'm Jack Doty with Intercom Bioequities. We're a venture capital company headquartered in San Francisco, working in the life science industry. We are currently seeking a fund of $250 million coming in from limited partners, and hope that we'll meet people who can help us with that. We have 14 portfolio companies. The collective value, if all of them were to be successful, and I think everyone in the room knows that not everybody is successful, but they would be $350 billion. So it's a huge opportunity. There's a little bit of a wait, about 3 to 5 years. But on the other hand, we think we have something wonderful, and we can cure a bunch of diseases. So thank you.
Hello, I'm Igor Markevich from Ukrainian Startup Fund. It's a governmental agency focused on supporting Ukrainian startups. And for now, we have more than 6,000 of Ukrainian startups in our portfolio, and a lot of them are focused on AI. So you can contact me, and I will share the portfolio. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Sana Kwan, the co-founder and CEO of Paramus. We make wearable blood pressure monitors. Our first project is this one, is Coie. It's for babies in the NICU. And we expect to get clearance later this year and offer it for market launch. And then also we're working on our second product, which is for maternal care, monitoring women at risk of hypertensive disorders of pregnancy. And that's sort of the second step towards the goal to enable you to use remote blood pressure monitoring for any patient in any sort of medical situation. We currently have an open note. I will gratefully accept any checks anybody wants to write, but we expect to start raising our Series B after we receive clearance later this year. So thank you.
I guess best for last. James Ehrlich, founder of Regen Villages, which is a Stanford University spin-off company that I founded in 2016 to apply machine learning to the generative design and operation of self-reliant neighborhood infrastructure. Clean water, renewable faculty at Singularity University, senior fellow at NASA Ames Research Center. Under Obama, continuing now under Biden-Harris, appointed to a White House OSTP Joint Task Force on Regenerative Infrastructure. Thanks. Faculty at Singularity University, senior fellow at NASA Ames Research Center. Under Obama, continuing now under Biden-Harris, appointed to a White House OSTP Joint Task Force on Regenerative Infrastructure. Thanks.
An external agency to write his first grant, which he did not get. And then under our mentoring, State of CA funded mentoring, we put him with Chuck Eason, and under Chuck's guidance, Eric started getting first a grant to get other grant, and then the floodgates opened. He started getting government contracts, DODs, and now he's profitable, and he stopped fundraising because he raised $800K, a big portion through Celtic Angels, whose co-chair is on our board, should be here, Jim Simmons. And so that's the story. And another thing about Eric is, this is someone who's always open to listen to everybody. And this is top person, top background, company, education, but he's very open. And that is the secret sauce, the openness in the mindset, not think you know everything. So I would say, between Chuck's mentoring and Eric's open-mindedness, he got the grants. And that's a story we want to come out in the next 15 to max 20 minutes.
To introduce yourself again.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Casey. So again, I'm Chuck Eason with Tech Futures Group, and as glad to hear so many people here, or either my clients or working on SBR funding. So I'm a big fan of the SBR program. You can get up to a couple $1 million in non-dilutive funding to demonstrate the feasibility, whether your new innovation or technology might be. So then when you do go raise money, then you've kind of de-risked it and demonstrate feasibility, so your company might be worth more. But as I mentioned earlier, I've been doing this for about 28 years now. Which one of these do I have to do forward on?
The arrow down should have done this.
Here. There we go. Okay, there it is.
Good.
And before I start too, just want to mention Tech Futures Group, our funding partners are the Small Business Administration on the federal level, and then the Governor's Office, it's called GoBiz, Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, provide us funding. And we are not allowed to charge for our services, and we do not take any equity, so there's no cost to the clients. We get paid an hourly rate to work with clients through our SBA funding. So yes, been doing this for like 28 years. I wanted to show you real quickly. I had an NSF Phase 1, Phase 2, and a Phase 2 CC grant. And later on, I'm going to be hearing from two of my clients too. That's what we want to hear is the been there, done that people, how they've done this. But my project was actually around 3D printing of houses. So this was a National Science Foundation grant. And we could take any 3D CAD model like this Buddha here and produce a 25-foot tall model of that. My idea was to apply it to the construction industry, so we did a 1/12 scale model of my house in Phase 1, full scale curved staircase, and then Phase 2 we did a full scale structure. So that was my project. I'm thinking about reviving this too because we were using a material that was fireproof, so there's a lot of need for that nowadays with fireproof housing, I think. So you can, as I mentioned, you can get up to a couple $1 million in non-dilutive funding through the SBIR program. The other benefit is, even though the federal government is funding your research and development work, you still retain worldwide patent rights to whatever you're developing. And there's 11 federal agencies that participate in the program. So it's been around since the mid-'80s, and Congress requires agencies that have over $100 million. So the 6 here participate in what's called the SBIR, Small Business Innovation Research Program. And then those that have over $1 billion in R&D budget, so the top 5 there, participate both in the SBR and STTR. And I have a slide later on kind of explaining the difference. With the STTR stands for Small Business Technology Transfer. So Congress requires these agencies to set aside 3.2% of their extramural R&D for SBIR and then 0.45% for STTR. So think of it as a set-aside that only for-profit small businesses can go after. And that 3.65% works out to about $4 billion each year. And here in California, we get a good line share of that. I think we have about 1/5 of the awards here in California. Probably see around 500 what we call Phase 1 awards, and I have a slide describing the different phases in a minute. I always like to show this chart, and it's very interesting because when you're going searching for money for these grants, you want to know who has the money. And when you look at this, of course, the Department of Defense has the largest R&D budget, so they have almost half the pie of that $4 billion. And then National Institutes of Health, or Health and Human Services, has another quarter of the pie. So between those two agencies, they have about 3/4 of the pie. And then the remaining 9 are split between that last quarters, like Department of Energy, NASA, National Science Foundation. And those are still pretty good sized programs. Like National Science Foundation does have a topic for AI. I have quite a few clients work in that area. And then the small slivers are the tiny ones like Department of Education, EPA, Department of Transportation. But it gives you an idea who has the money. I usually suggest searching all the agencies. For example, the Department of Defense funds a lot of health-related research. My wife worked at the VA hospital in Loma Linda before we moved up here in the research, and then she worked at UC Davis. But they have the VA system, and then they, of course, have hospitals all around the world. I'm up in the North Bay, just over the hill from Napa, and in Fairfield. So we have Travis Air Force Base there, but there's a full-size hospital on the base, David Grant Medical Center. So the DoD funds both medical, they fund all sorts of stuff. The other thing I always like to point out here, you see the green for granting agencies and blue for contracting agencies. So there's slight differences in how they dole out the money. So some of the agencies use a contract mechanism and some use grants. In both cases, even if you fail, you don't have to pay it back, so it's a grant in that sense. But if you look at the contracting agencies like the Department of Defense or NASA, their topics tend to be very specific. They propose the problem, and then you propose the solution. Whereas the granting agencies like National Science Foundation or NIH, they have very broad topics, topic just for AI. And you get to propose both the problem and the solution for the granting agencies. So sometimes it's a little easier to find a fit maybe with the granting agencies. Although the DoD now, with the reauthorization last September, all branches of the DoD are required to do what's called an open
topic solicitation once a year. Air Force has been doing it for many years, or AFWorks, but the Army started doing it now, and Navy just had one as well. And the idea there is you as industry you got some technology or innovation, you can bring it to the DoD, saying this might be something of benefit to you. So that's what they call open topics versus the specific topics. And another kind of difference between the granting and contracting agencies, the granting agencies like National Science Foundation or NIH, they're not going to buy anything from you typically, they're not going to become a customer. But the contracting agencies like DoD or NASA, if you solve their problem during the phase 1 or phase 2 R&D effort, then you could become what they call a phase 3 customer. In fact, the SBIR legislation allows them to do a sole source contract, so they don't have to go out to bid for it. So that's a benefit, I guess, of working with the contracting agencies, and I'm sure Eric's trying to do that, trying to get some contracts. It's a different pool of money that they use. It's not SBIR funding, but they can become a customer. And the other difference is something too that contracting agencies typically can move a little faster since they use contracts. I think they're required to give an answer within 90 days, whereas just granting agencies like NIH, NSF, when you submit your proposals, it takes them 5 to 6 months to review them. They have to pull together an external review panel, usually 3 or 4 people. Whereas like DoD, it's going to be internal, it'll be like Air Force people or civil service reviewing it. To be eligible to participate, first of all, you do have to be a for-profit, so not a non-profit. And you do have to be a small business, and that's by SBA standards. That's up to 500 employees, which is huge. Most of my clients, I'd say, are between 1 to 5 person teams. There's usually 2, 3, or 4 founders that get together. So most of them are definitely under 10, I would say, the clients that I work with. And you do have to do the work here in the U.S. typically because it's taxpayer dollars. There's some exceptions to that rule. If you can get approval from the agencies if you have to go overseas or somewhere else, but you have to have approval. So the way they dole out the $4 billion, they have the 3 phases. So a phase 1 grant is all about demonstrating feasibility. So that's a small, usually $275,000, $300,000, and that's usually over like a 6 to 12 month period. So you might be doing, it could be a simulation, it could be a study, it could be it's hardware, it could be a benchtop prototype or a breadboard prototype that you're doing in the lab. So you're demonstrating feasibility of whatever your new innovation is. Once you've demonstrated feasibility, then you're eligible to go on to phase 2, which is where the real money's at. That's usually between $1 million to $2 million. And that's a 2-year effort. And you're doing what I could call a field prototype. You're testing the field more real world versus in the lab. So if it's a U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, you'd be literally testing in the agriculture fields. If it's a Department of Education, you're testing in the classroom. DoD, you're testing with the warfighter. So phase 2, that's where you're getting closer to commercialization, and then phase 3 is where you commercialize the technology. So that's where you have to find customers, partners, investors to get it to market. And you see there's no dollar amount there. They call it phase 3, but they don't have any SBR dollars. So other than, as I mentioned, like the contracting agencies like DoD or NASA, they can become a phase 3 customer, but they use a different pot of money for that. And real quickly, the difference between SBR and STTR, all the agencies, all 11, have one solicitation for both SBR and STTR. They used to do separate. So it's all the same topics, same dollar amount. The main difference is with SBIR, you as a small company can do 100% of the work if you wanted to, and you're allowed to subcontract up to 1/3. And then STTR, you as a small business have to do minimum 40% of the work by budget, and then you're mandated to partner or have a sub-award with a research institution. And that could be a research university, it could be a federal lab, and that could be between 30 to 60% you subcontract out. So those are the primary differences. SBR is $3 billion, whereas STTR is maybe 400 or 500 million. So it is a smaller program. Yes.
How does IP development and sharing work under this construct?
Yeah. Well, if you're doing STTR, you have to have a cooperative research agreement with the university. So each one of the universities, like UC Berkeley or UC Davis or UC Santa Cruz, they have their own research agreements. So you have to define what they call the background IP, who brings any IP to the project. And then the tough part is more who owns any jointly developed IP during the project. So that would have to be negotiated as part of the cooperative research agreement.
Is that typically negotiated going in, so you have a document that lays it out before?
Yeah, for STTR, you don't have to have a signed agreement for submitting, but you need a letter from them saying we're willing and, you know, we're going to work on this project. And then, but when you get the award, then you have to have a signed cooperative research agreement. So you would talk to the tech transfer officer or someone at the university. It is a pretty competitive program overall. About 1 out of 8 phase 1s to 1 out of 12 are funded in the staff right now. It's about 1 in 8. Our goal at Tech Futures Group is to get you to 1 in 8 to 1 out of 2, 3, or 4 maybe. And once you have a phase 1, then about 1 out of 2 to 1 out of 3 go on to phase 2. So about a 30 to 50% success rate. Of course, you're competing against people who have phase 1 awards at that time. And then phase 3 commercialization, I'll have good statistics, but that's kind of where the program falls down. I've heard statistics only 1 out of 20 or 5% make it to commercialization. So that's where they need some assistance, I think. That's where all of you might be able to help as well. Each one of the agencies does a solicitation between 1 to 3 times a year. The small ones like Department of Ed once a year, big ones like DOD, NSF, NIH is 3 times a year. And they have a list of all the topics in their solicitation. There's thousands of different topics. And I won't get into this, but you can do a keyword search at sbr.gov. This is the official SBA funded website. You can do a keyword search of all 11 agencies. But that's something I can help people with. Last slide I have is this is just a sample proposal format. Typically a phase 1 grants are on a 15-page project description, and then you have a 1-page budget and letters of support from potential customers, investors, and then you have various forms. So they end up 45, 50 pages by the time you're done, so it's a fairly heavy lift, but maybe 15 to 20 pages of actual writing. So overall, it's a great program, $4 billion available, and key to success is trying to meet the need of the agency. It has to be innovative. You have to have the right team. So now I'd like to bring up some of our been there, done that people. I think I have Eric, if you want to talk about this. I think I have yours.
Yeah, that's us. Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, I'm Eric with Telemetrack. We have a kinetic energy powered tracking device that looks exactly like that. That's a picture of it. In the civilian world, we can use that to track things that don't have electric power, like containers, and they have a lot of cargo in them. $12 trillion a year, actually. So tracking is needed because it's basically non-existent on land. I'll keep going. Oh, no, sorry, going the wrong direction.
Do the down one there, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we are a logistics tech startup founded 5 years ago in Oakland, California. We have a hub zone qualification. We are in a historically underutilized business zone, which is a part of the country that the government wants to stimulate economic activity. And basically, we're in a fairly rough part of Oakland. I can come back to that if people are. I can come back to what the hub zone could do for you. You probably don't want to hear too much about Oakland. Now, as I mentioned, the private sector applications for our kinetic energy powered tracking device involve things like containers and the trailers that carry them around on land. It's on land that the tracking is a real problem for these things. Now, this is what the Defense Department considers a dual-use technology because it has civilian applications as well as military ones. Because the Defense Department has 300,000 of their own containers, they move a lot of cargo around, and they have a lot of other stuff that needs tracking but doesn't have electric power, for notably aerospace ground equipment, which looks a lot like this cart here. That one, it's a power cart. It has power intermittently, but most of the time the diesel generator that's in that is not running, and these things get lost. A fighter wing, for example, may have 6 age assets, or pieces of age, they call them, for every aircraft. So they're used a lot. Sometimes they move every 10 minutes around the clock. Telemetrack, to get back to my company, we have 3 full-time employees, 9 part-timers. We have 4 patents issued. There are 9 others pending. We've raised $875,000 from 9 angels. 8 of them are local. This is a typo, actually. 8 are local, one's in LA, and also there's a so-called micro VC fund in New York that invested just $50,000. That's our most recent investor. It's sort of table stakes for those guys. Now, we have been quite successful with the SBIR and STTR programs. The Defense Department calls these SIBRs and SITRs, but it's the same thing. So the total's over $3 million so far. So we've so far been awarded 4 phase 1 SBIRs, 2 open topics, 2 specific topics. The open topic is where you have to propose find a problem and propose a solution. A specific topic is more typical in the SBIR world, where they tell you we need something, can anybody meet our need? Anyway, we've managed with 2 of each of those. Sorry about all the typos here, it's getting too late last night, obviously. We also have a phase 1 STTR done in cooperation with Lawrence Berkeley National Labs, that's with the Department of Energy. So as Chuck just mentioned, DOE is a granting agency. The Defense Department is a contracting agency, and that there are some subtle differences there. Another typo here, it's getting too late, as I said. We have been awarded 2 phase 2 SBIRs, both with the U.S. Air Force, with this organization called AFWERX, which calls itself the venture arm of the U.S. Air Force. They have a large cyber budget. AFWERX alone has a $1.4 billion cyber budget. They make hundreds of awards a year. I think they're just great. Now, when we've been pitching our tracking solution for age assets for over a year now, or 2 years almost, when you add up all the numbers, and we used to say that, kid around, that age is probably the least sexy asset that the U.S. Air Force has. They have fighter aircraft that can fly at supersonic speeds and so on. But I am now wrong about that, because age actually made it into a film with Tom Cruise. I don't know if anybody, this is from the latest Top Gun film, actually. I won't ruin the story for everybody, but age is actually on the big screen now. We thought it was kind of fun. Okay. Well,
okay, we have 3 minutes.
Here. Okay, sorry, I'll just wrap. This is the last slide. So, as Chuck mentioned, SBIRs and STTRs are 100% non-dilutive, and your intellectual property. There are some lawyers in the room. They'll tell me if I'm wrong, but I think there's very robust protection of your intellectual property. We've had some success so far. We're at sort of almost 50% of the proposals I've written have been funded so far. So we've done both SBIRs and STTRs. I think the Defense Department is the way to go, because they have 48% of the total federal government SBIR, STTR budget, so that's far and away the largest slice of the pie. And because it's a granting agency, the Defense Department it is actually the world's single largest buyer of stuff. The U.S. federal government is the world's single largest customer. By agency, it's the Defense Department. They buy almost anything you can imagine, because an air base is an airfield and a small town with its own hospital and stuff. So they buy all kinds of stuff. It's a huge buyer, so they can definitely become a phase 3 customer. The Department of Energy cannot. It's a granting agency. I also believe that based on my experience, the Defense Department SBIR process, and I would think the STTR one as well, because it's in parallel, is more transparent, and I find it more manageable than the Defense Department one. You get answers faster. There are people who can ask for help. I just think it's better. And I think if anybody's looking for advice, I would recommend starting with AFWERX, which Chuck and I both mentioned. Here's the URL, afwerx.com. Here, this is just repeating stuff that Chuck went over, but examples, another distinction between a contracting agency and a granting agency is that with a contracting agency, there are deliverables you have to send them or demonstrate in order to get paid each invoice. With a granting agency, you just have to write a report at the end, and then you may have to prove them halfway through that you're actually doing some work. But here are examples of deliverables. Last thing, phase 1 for a Defense Department is a feasibility study. It's just a written report in a very standard format. The phase 2 deliverable is a working prototype.
We have run out of time.
And Deborah is texting me, having person from IBM to be our host means we have to go with her high standards. So when she puts the next panel together, closing remarks would be great, given by someone who just got the first grant, hot off press. What is your motivation to people who haven't got? We need to know that.
Sure. Again, hello everyone, and my name is Zara Hemeshan. I'm thrilled to introduce our company Marvel Bio. Do you know anyone who died of cancer?
Can you hold this, please?
Do you know anyone who died of cancer due to the lack of an effective treatment? That's how I lost my dad, and how millions of others are losing their loved ones. Sadly, that's largely because of the highly costly and inefficient sorry, with the microphone.
Don't gesture with it, just
sure.
hold it.
I can hold it if you want.
No, it's okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So sadly, that's largely because of the very expensive, inefficient, and lengthy process of drug development that leads to 95% clinical failure rate. At Marvel Bio, with our domain expert team, our pioneering generative AI technologies coupled with our wet lab capabilities, we dramatically cut the time and cost of antibody drug discovery and development by more than 10x and significantly increase the chance of success. So we tackled uniquely the challenges with undruggable targets with high importance and basically and uniquely tackling those unmet therapeutic needs in this space. With a sum of over $17.4 million, we also validated our business model and
you know about the grants.
Sure. Through interviewing biopharma companies, many of which are interested in accessing our leading technologies. We have not been diluted as of today after operating for over 2 years, and we develop solid technologies. We have a very strong IP portfolio, and just secured non-dilutive funding. We just received NSF funding, and we have over $1.5 million at the moment non-dilutive funding under review, beside the follow-on phase 2 SBIR NSF that we are expecting to receive after 6 months. Perhaps we can apply for the phase 2. We are just opening our seed round to commercialize our technologies, and so if you are interested in helping patients and want to be a part of the next game-changing technologies, so Marvel Bio is a perfect opportunity for you. Considering that we have not been diluted and we have also secured non-dilutive funding, I got a lot of help with the great advisor, Chuck, and we are on a mission to change the pharma industry. Thank you so much once again. My name is Zara Mashan, the world's first generative AI antibody drug design company, and I hope you consider joining us.
Fantastic. All right, now I'm gonna hand over the floor to the host of today. She was a global evangelist for IBM Ventures for over 20 years, and she retired, and she started innovation now, and she's also working with Pitch Global as CVC-in-Residence. And also, I like to provide people context, deeper context, how everyone is connected. I met Deborah because she's a longtime supporter of our dear board member, Shasha Johnson, who started a fund with Tim Draper for Eastern Europe and can open any doors in Silicon Valley. And Deborah was also a long-term supporter. And that's how I met Arman, because Arman and Perkins Coie was I think still their lawyer. They were lawyer for the fund, and that's how we all bonded. So there is common, deeper culture than what meets its eye. On that note, I hand over the floor to Deborah so that I can relax. And I rushed. By the way, tomorrow we have a conference, and we had to do walkthrough in San Francisco Mayor's Permit Building. So I didn't eat anything, but I bought something to go so I can relax, eat my first meal of the day. And I know Deborah knows how to run everything on time.
Yeah, you're off
All
the
right.
hook.
I'm off the hook. Thank
It's
you.
off the hook.
By the way, just as a housekeeping, show of hands, who has actually typed into the link? In order to put these events on, we unfortunately need to do our homework as well. So please enter the link and continue with what's then asked from you on that website.
He's asking for a real reason, because we get funding from the governor's office, and they want to see statistics.
It's case sensitive, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, PGAI event is case sensitive. That's a feature of Bitly.
So this is my third AI event for generative AI event for Pitch Global. First two were virtual. This is our first in-person event. I want to tell you that there's going to be an in-person event on November 15th at the Berkeley campus in San Francisco on climate tech. So that'll be something definitely worth seeing, since that's such a hot topic today. We're going to get right started because we're starting slightly late, and it's not a lot late given my experience with other conferences, but let's do this. So we have Tarek Alyashevich, who's been at Allstate for almost 11 years, running the venture group there and doing a pile of investments. He got a lot of experience in the past working for JP Morgan Chase and other investment banks and private equity firms, and he's just a rock star in the corporate venture group scenarios. So we can learn a lot from him, and he's going to talk to you about what's going on in the insurance business with generative AI and his experiences and his portfolio, and we welcome Tarek.
This is Aerodom. Very excited to be here and share some of my insights. Being the first one presenting today, I was thinking how do I provide the most value to this group, and I know we have a great CVC and VC panel that's going to talk about Gen AI later, so how do I make sure that I'm not talking about the same topics or use cases that you guys have heard, and how to understand how corporates are thinking about. So I decided to start maybe with really a high level 35,000 foot view of why corporates actually are thinking more innovatively these days, and why we are all looking to do it faster than before, and then work my way down all the way to how Allstate does it, and then what applications we see when it comes to the insurance industry. So many of you have probably seen this chart, and I used to use this chart almost since the beginning of the Allstate Strategic Ventures to cause people to start thinking what is happening in the world today and understand how rapidly the world is changing. So when you look at the history and how long it took to adopted 70%, with the phone, all the way to computer became adopted within 25 years, and then you go to social media and smartphones. What you start seeing in this chart is every new technology that's being brought up is becoming more and faster adopted. And what's happening, consumers are adopting this technology faster. So at Allstate, our primary, and the way I think about investing is consumer is at the center of everything. So consumers, we are trying to understand what those consumers' needs are. How does the consumer want to engage? Where does that consumer want to engage with us? And then ultimately, we are in the business of understanding the risk and pricing risk. So what is the risk of our consumer? How do we appropriately price it? And then when you have a time of need, then you have for example, claim, how do we adjudicate that claim and get you back to your normal life as fast as possible? So when you take that lens, you actually realize consumers' expectations have changed and they're becoming faster. And then you look at what's happening now. So the first slide I used pretty much from the beginning till about a year ago, and then I'm we used to measure in decades of how long innovation takes. And consumers were expecting, and then it's become years. Now look at what has happened, for example, with ChatGPT and some of these technologies recently. How fast people are adopting them, how fast they are using them, and how fast they are using them across the world. So as you think about, if you want to be relevant in the future, it's not only about how fast you have to change, but you have to understand your consumers, and younger consumers are even more adept. And then when you say, okay, I'm going to worry about AI, and from the investment standpoint in the seat that I sit in, I'm well, it's not all about the AI. There's all these other technologies that are being developed at this same exact time. So, we are looking at, Web3, Metaverse, autonomous cars, quantum computing, IoT. A lot of these technologies are starting to converge and come together. What is the impact of those technologies coming together? What is the impact on customer expectations? And what is the impact for our business and what our business is going to look like in the future? So as you start thinking about how corporates are going to respond to some of these challenges, the important thing that I wanted to make sure it's clear from my presentation today is we understand the need of how fast to adapt. And if we want to be in the business 20, 30, 50, 100 years from now, we are going to lead with technology. So the way we talk about Allstate internally, we don't talk about ourselves as an insurance company. We think of ourselves as a technology company that happens to be in the business of insurance. And as part of that process and what we've done over the last few years, we've been driving our digital transformation for the past 5, 6, 7 years, seeing what technologies are coming in so that we can adapt and then be able to deploy those technologies. Now, the second thing that I needed to explain to internally and help out with the way we think about it. Corporates have been great at innovating for a long time. Many of them have. Allstate has Like if you go a history of 80, 90 years, we've come up with some pretty innovative stuff that, you know, are part of our everyday lives. Corporates also had money that they could put in innovation teams, and we can invest, and we continue to invest in those areas. However, if you try to do everything yourself and think that most of the innovation is going to come internally, you might be in the trouble before you know it. You cannot just rely on your own internal innovation. You need to know what's happening outside. So I love to show this chart for, you know, that it's courtesy of PitchBook. Over the last 13 years, number of startups has gone up by 7 times. Number of startups that's actually succeeding, and even with the downturn that we've had over the last 2 years, has been significantly higher in the past, because as you look at the light blue line, which represent the early stage count, as well as the darker blue line and the red line, the number of startups that have been successful is growing. Also, at the same time, it's getting cheaper and cheaper to start your own company. And then now your employees can become even more efficient when it comes down to how they are leveraging some of these latest technologies. So as you think about like AI applications, really how do people work alongside technology and are able to do more with less? And that's the mindset that we have, because you do not want to be loaded, because eventually consumers may not be willing to pay what you're looking to charge for those products or services. So what does that practically mean? And I hope I'm speaking, I know there's few corporates here as well, corporate CVCs, but like what does that practically mean for the enterprise, and why do we care, and then like how does AI tie to all of that? The one thing that I keep iterating internally, and I've been very fortunate to have a very supportive senior leadership management team, is we are very good at executing, we are good at exploring startup in the future. And then the second thing that I'm very specific with my business partners as well as our technology team is, when we are testing something, let's have a clear success metrics, and based on the results know what the next step look like. Like not all the time success metric is going to lead to the production, but it's going to help you understand like, okay, this technology is ready at this level, I need to do this, and this, and I can use it in like 3 to 6 months from now.
Thank you so much. That was great.
I just want to make a comment.
Oh, okay.
That's a great question. Many of the people, CVCs who has come to our events, like TDK Ventures, they invest early stage. So there was someone right here from TDK, gentleman there. So things are changing now, but thanks, great question.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Do you have a mic for Jake?
Yeah.
Jake, you can come up.
Do we need another presentation?
No, we're going to talk.
Okay.
And they're getting you one. So while they're doing that, I'll introduce Jake. We met quite a while ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago. Jake was at Accel Partners, and I knew him as the go-to guy for data and analytics. And more recently, but it's still been now a few years, right, 3 or 4 years, Jake joined Wing VC, which was started by Peter Wagner and Govt from Accel and Coie, and that's a wonderful firm, so you did good. And Jake's now working in quite a bit in AI and ML, but also infrastructure and even technology-led PLG. And he has quite a background in tech at various firms, and I have to tell you something I've never told you. I worked with Eric Swan at Taligent, which was an IBM Apple JV, and Eric became very famous for having started Splunk. And Jake was at Splunk for a bit, so that's my story about Jake's past. So what we're going to do is talk about generative AI from a venture capitalist perspective, and a venture capitalist who understands the entire tech stack for AI, and will be able to speak to each of these things. So first of all, let's talk about the kind of deals that get you excited, and then we'll get into the specifics of where things fall.
Deals that get me excited. Well, I mean, like most of the teams that we meet at the earliest stages are technologists who have earned a unique point of view on the world through hard-earned experience, right? Like they've seen something. They have an idea of how to do it better. Often it's now bringing data or generative AI capabilities to some portion of the stack, whether it's a piece of infrastructure where you sort of expect them to have lived and breathed that problem. On the application side, we also think the most insightful founders come from having experienced the pain, not just
just sort of searching around for a project. And we also get really excited by what I call sort of as complete teams that have, you know, a little bit of capability in both, you know, in all the different domains, and have a certain level of self-awareness. They know what they know, and they admit what they don't know. You know, the funny thing about generative AI is like, what's a lot of experience? You know, it's like there will be 18 months of experience, and it's like they've been around since.
Yeah, 6 weeks is pretty good. Well, I know you are investing all up and down the stack, so let's just talk about some of the specific layers. So I think everyone here knows that NVIDIA has gotten a lot of press for what they're doing at the bottom layer of the stack with their GPUs. And I have to say, I started, when I was still at IBM, I started supporting our semiconductor and hardware teams a couple of years ago. And I wanted to take our chief strategist to visit hardware and semi-investors in Silicon Valley, and I figured there were probably a couple of them. We went to visit 10 different firms. So this is picking up in Silicon Valley, and I wonder if you're saying the same thing. Are you seeing good deals?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously NVIDIA has had a tremendous run as of late, and honestly the group that makes the most money off of generative AI right now is clearly you know, the semiconductor vendors. They actually get paid, and they make more money than they spend.
And the stuff's expensive.
Even if you look at some of the foundation model companies right now, you know, will converge, but like very challenged from a gross margin perspective today. You know, like most of them, quite frankly, not positive, negative. That's okay. And so, you know, NVIDIA was built at a certain moment in time. It was built for something else, right? Like it was built for graphics. There's a lot of things that are not necessary if all you want to do is you know, only AI or generative AI. That said, they have tremendous market cap. They're a very difficult competitor to dislodge in their core, and they just don't have the balance or the self-awareness to understand what it's going to take to build a successful and enduring company. We see, you know, a little bit more of that coming out of academia at the moment, and then there's folks that are engaged in what we call startup theater, that like the idea of starting a company, but you know, would sort of take the first thing that comes to them. We really want to back people that want to fundamentally change the world, and it takes a slightly kind of crazy, ambitious person to want to do that. And so that's what we call a wing entrepreneur, and that's what we're always looking for.
I've met those people because I'm often a pitch judge, and those brilliant guys will tell you all about the problem space, and then when it comes time for the Q&A, I have to say, and what is your product, and what does it do? It's very sad, but there's a lot of that out there. So we're running out of time, so I just wanted to ask you if you have any last thoughts about what we can expect over the next year.
What can we expect over the next year?
Or what do you expect or wish you could see?
Yeah, like use cases and capabilities. Like that's what's going to move us forward. Like really precisely, if I had to give advice to like the corporates, like make it crystal clear, like what is the capability, you know, what SLA do you need, and you know, what's that list? And then we can have like a much clearer matchmaking exercise. This is not a panacea. Like too many people are treating this as I hate to say it, like it's just a crazy black box that can solve all my problems. Like it's not. Like it's really not. You know, all the media is talking about like when are we gonna have Skynet? You know, like it's just like it's sort of a wrong conversation to have, and it's not productive to sort of identifying the gaps and solving for them.
Very cool. I want to thank Jake. I've known Jake for a long time, but that was the most fun I've ever had. Thank you. Oh, Jesus Christ. And the agenda is right there and also on my piece of paper. So, Gerard Cunningham, hi. And
good to see you.
Here's one for you. So Gerard is at McKinsey, and he specializes in AI, but he also specializes in climate tech. In fact, I think that's your bigger passion. And I mentioned before that we're having a climate tech event on November 15th, and Gerard had said he's going to come back. So Gerard has given a keynote, and this is the third time. He did the 2 virtual events as well, and so we invited him back for a good reason.
Well, I hope some of you haven't seen it before then. But thanks for having me here. And you're going to show the presentation?
I hope that I have it up in a second for you.
Can we get a copy of the presentation somehow? Or? Yeah. Okay.
And I also noticed that you're recording. Will there be a recording available? I know a lot of people wanted to come and could not.
So while that's coming up, so I'm a partner at McKinsey. I joined the firm 5 years ago after spending 25, 30 years as a serial entrepreneur in AI. And I joined McKinsey to create the climate tech practice because I wanted to reinvent myself and fix the world, and I didn't have a vision of what my next company would be because there was no new platform change 5 years ago. Things were looking a bit boring. Now, the climate space has just been incredible. We've scaled that practice enormously. It's going really, really well. And it's not going away. The climate crisis is getting worse, and there's going to be an amazing wave of technology. But of course, I'm getting pulled back towards AI, given there is a new platform.
Arrow down gets you to the next slide.
Thank you. So I'm deeply involved in both climate and AI, and I'm literally right now launching a new initiative in terms of applying AI across for climate, across all the different dimensions. R&D, manufacturing, modeling the systems of the world, and everything else. And as I mentioned, I come from the startup world. I've also worked inside corporates deploying AI. First AI I deployed was about 30 years ago. Now, we didn't know it would take this long to get to neural net, but we're very, very excited. I'm very excited that we finally got there. But and so as I go through this, just bear in mind I've seen quite a few of these digital revolutions. And they all rhyme. We're now in what we think of as the age of AI. It's the fourth revolution that I've seen. They all rhyme in that they've got hardware and software that gives us a complete step change that reinvents the world around us. When I started my career, we didn't have PCs. We had typists sitting outside our offices. They were all women in Procter & Gamble at the time. And all those jobs have disappeared because we all started typing for ourselves. With people, we didn't have spreadsheets except on mainframes at that point in time. We now all have got spreadsheets and don't even think about it. We have reinvented the world with PC, internet, mobile cloud 3 times already in my career, and this is just the next time. It's also the biggest that I think we're going to see. It's generative AI and it's accelerated computing. As I mentioned, we've been hoping for these algorithms. The first time people talked about the type of algorithms we had was back in the 1940s. And we were thinking about them when, again, at the beginning of my career and over the years, we didn't have the compute power. And now we have the compute. And these algorithms, the math goes hand in hand with the hardware. And so, but it's going to mean that corporations and companies are going to radically change, not just software, but all the hardware. I'm just going to run through a couple of McKinsey slides. Maybe you've seen, we've done a lot of work on the productivity impact of Gen AI. We estimate that 60 or 70% of many people, white-collar people's work can be automated, accelerated, augmented in some way. And that'll result in up to $4 trillion a year of productivity enhancement across a few key areas: software, marketing, other functions, including things like legal, but amazing productivity opportunities for the corporations to deploy these things, and for every innovator out there to go create a new business that does it. But productivity is only part of the story. I should say, and it's every industry sector. This is not just one sector. We think this is across every single part of the economy. It'll increase our productivity 3.5%. These are always bold predictions. Many of the productivity improvements end up becoming cost savings rather than actually growth. But I mean, just an amazing change if this comes through. And it's driven by incredible threat. And as I think about the options that corporates can take, we can all go do some tests. I did originally have written in here, wait. Because many of the tests are just waiting. They're not actually moving anything forward. It sounds good to the board feels satisfied that something's happening, but actually it doesn't do anything for anybody. There's no value add because there's no path forward. Then we've got companies who are defending. Again, I'd probably put Google in there today. Google felt so under attack, they finally put out a whole bunch of products. They did a great job, they defended their patch, that's wonderful. Another one is Adobe. In December, people were talking about Adobe dead, they're gone, they're going to disappear. And then they launched their Gen AI product, and it's just amazing. What I haven't heard is what they're going to do next to now win against all of the Gen AI content companies. There are some who are less directly under attack from the startups, and they've got all these assets. They need to work out how to go on the attack themselves. Where can they create a new business, a new profit center, where they can go and take market share from their slower moving competitors? There's an amazing opportunity for a whole bunch of corporates to go after that space. And then, of course, if you combine that, the really brave and the bold are going to try and build out moats to defend themselves and simultaneously go on the attack. And this is the area where I think we'll really differentiate, and we'll get some acceleration away from the pack from any incumbent that can achieve this. So the best way to create the future is predict the future is just to create it. I mean, we can prognosticate here, and here I am making statements about the future. We need to go create it, and it's up to us, entrepreneurs, the people deploying capital. We are the ones who will create the future, and CVCs sometimes get a bit of a knock in Silicon Valley. Oh my God, it's just about the corporates. Then we bring them in, and they're not really about the money. Well, sure. When we did this survey to go and research what the CEOs and the people running CVCs thought the purpose of the CVC was. Well, that's right, it's to bring information into the corporate so the corporate can do better, and it's to find the next generation of revenue growth. So this is one of the great opportunities now to do those things. And if you can bring together the strength of the incumbent, the CVC, and I would argue that almost every CVC belongs to or is attached to a very strong incumbent that has got a lot of assets, then if you can bring that with the energy of a startup, you can have a winning formula. Just to summarize quickly, generative AI, age of AI is Gen AI plus accelerated compute. It's not just productivity, it's also innovation. And enterprises need to be ready. It's a threat, you've got the assets, go use your CVCs to capture it.
Who is at Deutsche Telekom Capital Partners, DTCP, and I've known Lance for a little while. We had a nice Oktoberfest last year, and I've met some of your companies. And Lance has had a number of different jobs at different investing and working at startups, and has been at Deutsche Telekom for a little while now and invests in lots of different things, AI, but also mobility and a number of things. So thank you. And Zafer, so in the blue, is with Mitsubishi Electric, which is what that stands for on the slide in case you didn't know. Zafer has been at Mitsubishi Electric for quite a while. He was doing something really fun and interesting before he started running the venture group. He was running an R&D team that was incubating new projects. So it's like an emerging business function within Mitsubishi Electric, and actually transferred some of those into the business units and spun some out. And now with the venture group, he's already made 4 investments, even though the team is pretty new. Thank you. Then we have Steve Bernardus, who I've met a few years ago. He's in the insurance industry as well, and has been investing in a number of things for a while. You were at IBM Ventures, right? Which is another firm that I've known, and has joined Avanta, which is the insurance arm of a mid-range insurance firm called CSAA. So it does not have the name of the parent company in it, but we know what it means. And then we have Jay Anda, and Jay is somebody I've known for many, many years. We met this happens with a lot of people. When I was talking to Jake, I said, well, I met you back at your other firm. And with Jake, it's been like 4 or 5 other firms. but I knew you were at IBM Ventures and at the Orange Research and Innovation Lab in San Francisco, and now Marubeni, which is a large Japanese conglomerate. And so he's been doing a variety of things in corporate venture and has a lot of insights. And then Aman is Palavan is here at Perkins, and I have a very good thing, a couple of things to ask him about the environment now with the legal issues with generative AI, and I bet you've been reading about those in the press, right? So let's start out by saying, and maybe each of you could say something about this. Where do you think we are in the adoption cycle, Lance?
Yeah, I mean, I think quite early. I mean,
oh, you guys need to share a mic, and where's the other mic? Oh, it's here.
It's right about here.
Sorry. Here you go.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Hello? Hello? There we go. Yeah, I mean, I think like quite early. I mean, I think the previous speaker, I think Jared's point, I think everyone had their ChatGPT moment around November 29th, around actually physically touching and experiencing, having some type of interaction with an AI system. But from like a true enterprise adoption scale, there is a lot of interest, relative to that moment. It's floated up to the board, but there's a lot of questions. A lot of questions of how to use it, how to deploy it, what are the best use cases to deploy that.
Does anyone else want to address that? Do you want to say a couple words about adoption?
Yeah, I want to look at it from within an organization. So there are multiple departments, from R&D to business units, innovation center, and the support departments, legal, IT, human resources. And R&D departments are already running with new ideas, hiring new researchers, hiring interns, and working on Gen AI related problems. Business units, they are still assessing the risks and benefits. They're hesitating to commit fully. And IT, legal departments, and other support departments are very risk averse, typically. And they are becoming a barrier instead of a catalyst. And other barriers for adoption is lack of expertise, lack of compute resources, lack of data in some cases for fine-tuning. And as an innovation center for Mitsubishi Electric, our role is to reduce these barriers so that adoption rate can increase. And hesitations of the business units can be mitigated. We also help them identify new opportunities, tap on onto R&D outputs, and quickly turn them into commercially viable products.
Yeah, and then they can see what's really
Correct,
there.
correct,
Steve, have
yes.
you had the same experiences?
Just one comment.
Go
And
ahead.
I think in the domain of Gen AI, the traditional R&D will fail if it doesn't change. So traditionally, an R&D output today may be utilized 2 years later because you are not late. In the era of Gen AI, you need to act fast. So the R&D business unit.
I would say talking to a number of different players in the space. A couple companies, example companies, one raised recently, Hidden Layer, there's Calypso AI, there's Private AI, there's a number of these companies that are focused on basically governance and data provenance, hallucination sort of focus, and or a specific focus relative to cybersecurity, addressing prompt injection relative to kind of what some of the other guests had said.
With the outputs that I'm getting. And so from a product development perspective, I think it's all tools that we could do to do our jobs better, but I think customer discovery, product market fit, those are still things that we still have to manually do. I've seen attempts of ChatGPT trying to solve that, and there's a couple startups trying to solve that too, to like automate that. I think there's not enough data about the future to line that up and intersect, but we're still at the very early stages, so I'm not holding my breath, but I think there'll be a there.
I'm giving everyone a 5-minute bathroom break because 4 hours with no break, that was not my decision. So stand up and stretch and do what you have to do. Come back in 5 minutes and we'll have the VC panel. And they're top tier VCs, so you don't want to miss it. and solar organizations. Dan's been instrumental in introducing new technologies and innovations in clean tech as a game changer, not just in India, but in several countries. Thank you so much.
30 lawyers to Haynes and Boone's, and he's West Coast head. And speaking about politics, two cycles ago when there was presidential debates, he had the presidential debates in his office and real candidates were attending it. So Roger, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Casey. Let's get to it. The first thing, I think I'd like to let each of you maybe just introduce yourselves. We have three investors from three different I guess different backgrounds here. Why don't you give me maybe just a short, quick introduction of who you are, and then we'll jump into it. You want to go ahead?
Sure. I'm Adam Bergman. I'm a managing director in Citi's Clean Energy Technology Investment Banking team, and I'm the global head of AgTech Investment Banking. I like to say I work from farm to fork, but I don't cover.
Naresh Naidal, I worked at Intel for 32 years. Right now I'm in a startup. So one of the things fab needs is a lot of water supply and continuous electricity 24/7. So given the water situation in India in particular, how do you see a fab coming up here?
That's a great question. That's a fabulous question, and what you just did for me was conveniently like both of my topics, because the commitment, and you know it for Intel, right? The commitment to delivering on recirculation of water.
So I want to make one last announcement, and I did hint at this before. We're the people in this room with Alliance Indus and the government, and many of our friends and colleagues who are here, and also in organizations that are supporting the cross-border collaboration between California and India, are planning a delegation to India within the next 6 months. It's still being planned, so I don't have an exact date for you. And the discussions about collaborations will include everything from startups to large corporations, including some of the ones we've seen in this room, and we invite you all to participate and at least support this important delegation. Thank you. Oh, we have the inaugural video that we did not show earlier. Thank you.
I'm Brad Sherman from California's best named city, Sherman Oaks. Thank you for inviting me to provide video remarks for this important summit, as it reinforces the work I've done for so many years to deepen the U.S.-India relationship. For over 26 years, I've served on the House Foreign Affairs Committee and have been a member of the Congressional Caucus on India and Indian Americans, including serving as chair of that large and important caucus. Over the decades, I've worked to deepen the trade, the security, and the people-to-people ties between our two countries. Given that the United States is the world's oldest democracy and India is the world's largest democracy, it should come as no surprise that the U.S. and India have a natural partnership based on a foundation of shared values.
25 વર્ષની યાત્રાને દિશા આપનારી સમિટ બની રહેવાની છે. આ વાઇબ્રન્ટ સમિટમાં એલાયન્સ ઇન્સનું ડેલિગેશન ભાગ લેવા આવશે તો આપણા દેશ વચ્ચેનો વેપાર ઉદ્યોગ અને રોકાણના સંબંધો વધુ મજબૂત થશે એવો મને વિશ્વાસ છે. ગુજરાત આજે દેશનું અગ્રણી ઔદ્યોગિક રાજ્ય બન્યું છે. તેના મૂળમાં આદરણીય વડાપ્રધાન શ્રી નરેન્દ્રભાઈ મોદીએ નાખેલા સુશાસનનો મજબૂત પાયો અને પોલિસી ફ્રેમવર્ક છે. તેમના કાર્યકાળમાં ગુજરાત પોલિસી ડ્રીવન સ્ટેટ બન્યું અને તે દિશામાં આપણે તેમની પ્રેરણાથી.
Speech, I realize it is not complete because it doesn't mention green energy, and I know you did, but I will read this to our distinguished guests. I will face you. It doesn't block your screen too much. So this is somewhat what he said. Namaste. Distinguished guests, it is a pleasure to welcome you all to the Alliance Indus Summit to encourage trade between the U.S. and India. This summit is a testament to the growing cooperation and partnership between the two nations, and I want to extend my warmest greetings to all of you for joining us here today. I wish to congratulate this year's award recipient, Mr. Dan Sugar, who will be speaking later, founder and CEO of Nextracker USA, which has chosen Gujarat as their manufacturing and large-scale solar projects for growth. Their exemplary work will not only continue to create more jobs and stimulate economic growth, but will also serve as a beacon of innovation and sustainability. Gujarat, known as the jewel of India, has earned a well-deserved reputation as the most business-friendly state in India. With its strategic location, world-class infrastructure, and a commitment to ease of doing business, Gujarat has become a thriving hub for commerce and investment. It is a place where innovation thrives and opportunities abound for both domestic and international businesses.
Dear esteemed members of the Corporate, Government and Impact Funding Summit, I'm delighted to extend my heartfelt greetings and support for the third CGIF Summit, a remarkable initiative focusing on cross-border trade and emerging markets. I take great pleasure in supporting the important initiative as the CEO of DataVault. Given the nature of the digital asset business that I lead, I am a strong advocate of dramatically growing deep engagement among the various market economies, including India and the United States. I deeply understand the importance of fortifying cross-border trade relationships, particularly within the vibrant corridor of the global North and the global South. The historical ties, mutual esteem, and shared principles between the emerging markets like India, the GCC, the African continent, and the United States underscores the importance of such gatherings in fostering economic connections and facilitating cross-border trade. These efforts contribute substantially to the progress and prosperity of all regions. DataVault is a recently established data center platform that is focused on adopting the latest technologies within the digital infrastructure landscape. The intention is to develop future-ready, sustainable, and scalable data centers. It is a 100% subsidiary of Vision Invest, a $100 billion infrastructure corporate, which has a presence in 14 countries across the Middle East, Asia, and Africa. It is deeply rooted with operations across renewable energy, power desalination, district cooling, and water reuse, amongst the many other sectors. To the dedicated organizing committee, honorary chairs, attendees, and event partners, I convey my warmest wishes for a very memorable event. Good day.
So let's have a big round of applause for all the award recipients. They've done important, not yet. They've done important work in California, in India, around the globe. It benefits all of us. And so we're very excited to be able to hand out these awards and honor some very important people. Now we have a special treat for you. Is Mark Patel here?
No, he's not.
Oh, he's not here. Oh, okay. All right. Well, Mark Patel is from McKinsey, and we've had one of his colleagues at all of my AI events, and they're very talented advisors and speakers. So now we're going to cue up a video from the United Nations.
Good morning. I am McKinsey, the Executive Director and Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations Institute for Training and Research based in Geneva. We build capacities to help the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals. Trade is one of the greatest multipliers of impact for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals and the 2030 Agenda. So much needs to be done, especially in the most distressed countries, for peace, for prosperity, for people and our planet, through today's summit as an example of improved and enhanced partnerships. I am delighted to extend my heartfelt greetings in support of the third Corporate Government and Impact Funding Summit, a remarkable initiative facilitating cross-border trade with emerging markets, with a special emphasis on the dynamic United States-India corridor. This event is co-hosted by Coie, Silicon Valley chapter, and Alliance Indus. I take great pleasure in endorsing the significant initiative which commemorates the immensely successful state visit of India's Prime Minister to the United States in June 2023 and the deepening of the India-United States relationships. As a strong advocate for forging global alliances and for advancing international trade, I deeply understand the importance of strengthening cross-border trade relationships, especially significant for US-India trade relationships. Historical ties, the mutual respect and esteem and shared principles between India and the United States underscore the importance of such gatherings in fostering economic connections and facilitating cross-border trade. These efforts will contribute substantially to the progress and prosperity of both nations and the world. To the dedicated organizing committee, honorary chairs, attendees, and event partners, I convey my warmest wishes for a successful and memorable event. I am confident that the meetings like these, forged in spirit of partnership, will have a deep influence in the achievement of Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you so much.
We are serving the entire northern, western India by our American consulate. So just for a token knowledge of that our Indo-US relations with the Jagua family. Thank you.
We do want to call out some of the honored guests who are in this room. And so when I call your name, could you please stand up and wave to the crowd here? So we have Dr. Chris Castell, CEO of CareWare. Chris? And Mohan Utawar, CEO of OneCell. Welcome. Jack Doty, CEO of Intercom Bio. Tarek Galishevek, Managing Director of Allstate Strategic Ventures, who's my new friend. Hi, Tarek. Tarek spoke at my
Scottish mother. I came to the Bay Area, did my first round of schooling in the UK, came to the US West Coast for grad school, ended up staying here with McKinsey, and have been out in the Bay Area for about 20 years now with a brief stint in New York. So I think I'm more Californian probably now than anywhere else, but I still sound like I'm not from here. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all very, very much for inviting me. I'm pleased that we now have the slides queued up. Thank you very much to the team for helping me out there with the technical difficulties. I thought what I would do, first of all, I'm inspired by the context of this session and of this meeting. And like I said, it's really a privilege to be here. I thought what I would do is relate the themes to the work that I do, and hopefully in doing so there'll be some interesting intersections with what many of you are doing and also with some of the other speakers that you're hearing about. So we can go to the next slide. The work that I do, as I said, I'm based here. I'm with McKinsey. I'm a senior partner. I've been with McKinsey about 20 years. I've left McKinsey twice, both for early stage. One was in the software.
So we're just going to ask a couple more questions. I know we've got to wrap this up shortly. Turning to entrepreneurs who are thinking about raising capital, what advice can you give entrepreneurs in terms of putting together a business plan, putting together a pitch, how they should approach you if they're looking for capital? What are some of the do's and don'ts that you personally, whether it's pet peeves or truly kind of strategic errors or strategic pluses that you'd like to see when investors are seeking you out for capital?
So I'll be the chutzpah-ridden Israeli, be very blunt and direct. Do your homework. And sort of look at the investor you're reaching out to and see what they're investing in and why they're investing in the companies they're invested in, both from a stage and a focus perspective, in the sense that some investors would not do medical devices, some would only do orthopedics, some won't. So don't set a cardio investment to an orthopedic investor. It's just disrespect to a certain extent. I think on the other front, especially today with where the economy is and the fund's not really deploying any dry powder these days, patience is key. Fundraising is taking much longer than anticipated. The terms tend to be less founder-friendly, more aggressive, and smaller tickets. So that's maybe my 2 cents.
And I think from more of an early stage therapeutics investing perspective, it's important to remember the science is great, but biotech's a business. So, it's be able to show very clearly where you think there's value, right? What's the timeline? Otherwise, it's important to remember that biotech investors, I mean, you're asking people to invest on a timeline that's very similar to building a dam, right? Or building a fab or whatever else, right? So you have to make that very clear to investors what you think the opportunity is.
So I think we'll stop there. I'm getting the signal that we should move on. I know we're standing between you and lunch, but I just wanted to thank Dr. Joshi, thank also Tamir and Ishan for taking the time to just give us their insights on life sciences. And obviously we're around afterwards if you have questions, happy to take questions and have a continuing discussion. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Let's give a huge hand to the very august panel and especially our sponsor chair, Nate Gallen. It would be staggered lunch, so I recommend some of you, those who are interested in life sciences, stay in this room. We will have 5 life sciences presentations by very stellar companies, including 2 sponsors. So on that note, I request the life science panel to
really go out and look at what do people really need, where are the problems, and then really develop technology based on the needs. And that's really why we went to India very early on and really got us started. And then we continued to see advantages of hiring people there, really building some joint R&D, and then now manufacturing everything. So it really grew from the very beginning based on where our target was.
That's fantastic. All right. So what is the message to other companies, including our second presenter, Dr. Chris Castell of Careware, who are already pretty advanced, who have already raised significant funds? What is your advice to inspire them to replicate this business model, to really scale and achieve much faster than what they could have? I mean, they are going to be very successful anyway. That's why they're here. We have invited them. But how can what is the vision for accelerating the growth?
Well, I think India is a huge market, a huge healthcare market opportunity, and I think it's one that's hard to do to be completely remote. So being able to be there and access that market, I think for most healthcare entrepreneurs, it can give you a giant growth opportunity. It really depends on where your technology is targeted.
But I put a great team together. A lot of them have followed me through 4 different startups, so it's fun to have those guys with us. We are generating revenue. We've got more than 100 professional teams using our products for soft tissue injury recovery, pain management, and arthritis. And amongst those, some of our wonderful skaters on the women's Olympic teams for skating, basketball, a lot of different areas. But our key thing is, how do we go after patients that have chronic and acute pain and soft tissue injury? Next, please. So this is a whole area of big growth. Photobiomodulation is one of our franchises. You can see it's adopted into clinical practice guidelines. Next, please. And we use, in this particular application, patented pulse blue and pulse red light in various ways. We've studied this extensively and published quite a lot in the field. Next, please. And here you can see just a few of our publications. Some of this is in the area of post-op recovery following total knee replacement, all the way down to sports injury, edema reduction, and we've done large randomized clinical trials. So this is what the system looks like, the one that's happily working away here on my wrist. And that might be for carpal tunnel syndrome, by the way, if I happen to have it, which I fortunately don't. And